am very excited about the woman who we are bringing to the show today. Her name is Alba Forns. She is the COO and co-founder of Climatize, which is an impact investing platform bridging the climate finance gap by making it easier to invest in renewable energy projects. The crazy thing is, they launched a year ago, May 2023, and already they have millions that have been invested in solar projects using their platform. But here's the crazier thing. Alba does things in multiples. She has multiple awards, including Forbes 30 Under 30, Social Impact 2023. That's just one of her awards. She also has multiple degrees in engineering, and she has multiple languages that she speaks. So, Alba, you do things in multiple. So what I want to know is, how have you learned how to clone yourself?
Thank you so much, Midori, for talking about me in such a manner. I don't know. I guess I just put in the work.
It's amazing because you have accomplished so much. I don't know that you sleep or, how you've done this, but it's impressive. So talk to us a little bit about your journey. So I know that your education and the things that you really care about have to do with climate. So how have you gotten to where you are? Talk to us a little about your journey that has brought you to where you are now.
Sure, happy to. So everything kind of started with a climate strike, but I will take it one step back and kind of explain my background a little bit before going to that. So my background is in engineering. I'm a renewable energy engineer, and I've always been passionate about climate. So during my entire life, I've been a very active climate activist. I've organized strikes. I've participated in many beach cleanups. I've been organizing workshops, and I've kind of tied my passion for climate not only from a professional standpoint, but from a personal standpoint as well. So after finishing my undergrad, I worked as an energy consultant, and I was really involved with energy projects. I did a lot of solar, energy efficiency, and then policy work at a Spanish and at a European level as well. So through my experience working with renewable energy projects, I did realize that there's a lot of small projects that really struggle to raise capital in order to become a reality, right? So that is something that really stood out to me while I was an energy consultant. After that, I decided to pursue a double master's degree in renewable energy engineering. And that is how I connected with my co-founder. So it was literally second week of university, we went to a climate strike. And when we were there, we realized that there were 100,000 people protesting for climate action, which gave us a lot of hope. But the next day, we would all go home, nothing will be different. And the best option that we had was just making those cardboard signs. So that really made us feel very frustrated. And we started to interview people from the climate strikes. After talking to a lot of people, we saw there was this common thesis of people actually wanting to do something about the climate crisis, but then not really having the tools to make an impact and feeling very powerless. So that's where we connected kind of that need for capital for projects plus that collective will to make a difference. It was just the catalyst for the company. We started working on it as a university project, and it started becoming pretty serious after that. So we decided to take it full time after graduating, and here we are. So that's kind of a little bit of my background connected with a company here as well.
Okay, so you took your passion, your zone of genius, and you created this company, and you have an app that
Yes,
is part of
exactly.
Climatize. And so what's interesting is it sounds kind of like it's crowdfunding
Yes.
for renewable energy type of products. Talk to us about your program and how your app works.
Sure, of course. So it is a marketplace, and we are connecting investors who can start from as little as $10 with projects that are seeking capital. So when it comes to investors, you don't need any accreditation. You can start investing again, with $10, selecting the project of your choice. Depending on the project that you select, there's different terms for that investment. And if the project is successful, then you can earn up to 10% annually on your investment. That is the current terms that we have on the app. And then as a project developer, if you have a project that you need money for, you can connect with us. You go through a diligence process and you're able to launch it on the Climatize app. So we're just connecting those two sides.
So I love that you do the due diligence behind it, right?
Yes.
So talk to us a little bit about that process, because that can't be that simple. How do you do, what's kind of the way that you determine this company is worthy and they have a lot of opportunity for growth? What are kind of your barometers that you use to measure that and determine if they are a good company to bring into your program?
I'm glad you asked that because surprisingly, I don't get asked that question enough. So we do not fund the company itself. We provide project finance. So that's the beauty of it, right? Like we do not provide the capital for the company's operations. We provide the money that actually goes into building a solar project. So the investment of the participants in that crowdfunding raise really goes directly to fund a clean infrastructure project. In terms of the due diligence, we really focus on the team's track record. So we want a developer that has an extensive track record, that has done this multiple times, and that can walk us through what they have done in the past. So what are their default rates? How many projects have they successfully just brought to completion? Then we also carry out background checks on whoever is involved in the deal as well. We look into their financial statements. We ask for audited or reviewed financial statements, and then anything that has to do with the project. So we really dive deep into the technical and economic analysis of that project in particular. So it is a lengthy process, and we take our investors' money very seriously. Obviously, an investor can lose their investment. It is not guaranteed. But again, we just do everything in our power to ensure that we have quality deal flow.
Now you've grown, you said you have millions of dollars already invested using
Yes.
your platform, and it's only been a year. How have you, what's your marketing look like? How have you gotten so much funding in such a short period of time?
That is, again, interesting. Like as of today, we are at $3.7 million invested through the platform. So that means 10 projects fully funded. We launched the 11th project as of last week. And then we have projects in 7 states. We're returning capital for 5 projects already. Many of these projects have already been built. So we've seen us achieving scale very quickly. In terms of how we have gotten investors excited about this, I would say it's been very organic. So I don't really have any kind of secret sauce to it. We really started working on distribution and putting the word out there while we were fighting for our membership with the SEC and FINRA, which was required in order to launch a funding portal and operate under regulation crowdfunding. So I would say we've just been very active. We've done a lot of podcasts. We have a newsletter. We really know the community that we work with. We have a lot of partners as well who help us with distribution. But so far, pretty organic growth, I would say.
So it's kind of, when you were going to these protests and being part of that, were you building community then? Like, maybe you didn't have a whole strategy behind it back then, but is that essentially what was happening?
Kind of. So we started the company. Well, the company is based in the US, but I'm actually from Europe. So, funnily enough, I was actually part of the Fridays for Future demonstrations with my co founder as well, with Greta Thunberg in Sweden. So, we've been running iterations, very, very early iterations of the product through climate activists, different groups there. So, we really started there, but it was more from the lens of customer discovery than actually just getting people onboarded. So that was more for us to learn about what we want to offer. When it comes to us getting people onboarded, that kind of happened after. So to be honest, we haven't been very actively getting people on board. It just kind of happened. So through other communities and groups, but not necessarily from the climate strikes.
Okay. I just have to address this because there's people strike all the time. It's been going on forever. There's activists. However, what I love about what you have created, Alba, is you took something that was really upsetting for you, right? And that you're so passionate about. It hit on your core values, but you did something major with it that is, creating an ecosystem that helps the organizations that you want to help and helps these companies too to achieve the same goal. So for those of you who are listening, I want you to really kind of be thinking about I talk about this all the time. That's why I'm so impressed with what you've done. But especially as women, to grow a company that has longevity, that we stay fired up and passionate about, and we get up when we get punched in the stomach and knocked out at the knees. We have to have that alignment, right? To be able to jump out of bed and keep going despite the challenges that occur and the setbacks. So I love that you have something that really lights you up and you found a way to maximize it financially and with, help other companies do the same thing. So kudos to you for doing that. I want to shift more into the business part of what you've done. Your site does an excellent job of explaining how it works, because one phrase that I love is confuse you lose. But on your site, the way that you have it laid out as to how it works for the investor is beautiful. But are you an engineer?
Yes, yes, I am.
Okay, so usually engineers overcomplicate things. Just saying, nothing, not a dig on engineers, but when I have seen things that engineers do, it's really hard to understand. So how did you come up with because this applies to all businesses. It doesn't matter what type of business it is. We have to be clear in our messaging and in what we're doing. So how did you establish, I think you have like 4 steps that are on your website that make it so darn clear of how to participate in what you have going on.
Sure. I actually think it's still a work in progress. I'm glad that you find it simple, but to your point, sometimes engineers overcomplicate things, and I've for sure done it in the past. I would say one of my co-founder is very good at this, but I think I do a decent job at it too. We love to focus on very complex issues and make them simple. Energy is a very complex sector. We want to make it simple. Investing, it's investing how it is. Like starting to even learn how to invest is just an uphill battle. So we wanted to make those 2 things that are complex just kind of seamless. So we've tried our best. Again, we're constantly iterating on that, but I would say we've really iterated on the message, gathered a lot of customer feedback as well, run it through a lot of people. So that's why it looks so simple today, but probably at the beginning it wasn't like that.
Yeah, you've just done a fantastic job. And so I just want to bring that up to whoever's listening, and I love that you said you're still working on it, right? We can always improve. And so, just the education behind taking something that's complex and simplifying it is such a great exercise to do over and over and over again. So thank you for bringing that up. Talk to us about some of
Sure.
the
And
challenges.
maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, I just wanted to add something very quickly to that. One of my drivers as the founder as well is accessibility. I want to make sure that everyone has the access to these kinds of opportunities. And that's the reason why we start with $10. Sometimes we speak to people and they're like, $10, that is like nothing. But we just want to make it very accessible. So that comes from like a very low minimum investment, but at the same time, just not asking for people to come and be a savvy investor or an energy expert. We want this to be accessible to the people at the climate strikes. So that's really why probably you see that simplicity, that really clear way of getting onboarded or understanding how the projects work or the return profile. So we really try to make it simple.
And I want to address that because in investing, there's not many opportunities to invest small chunks like that. Rarely. And so I love that you did create that with everything's very intentional with what you've done, and you've done such a fantastic job with it. But I know that in any endeavor, especially large endeavors, there are always challenges that occur. So talk to us about one or two big challenges that you have encountered that you have learned to overcome, or maybe you're still going through them, but just talk to us a little bit about the challenges that you've experienced in growing your company.
I would say probably one that's interesting is the cold start problem. So when we started, we had a project that was $500,000 and we had zero investors, right? So that's not a good place to be because you don't have a track record. You can't point to other successful raises that you've done in the past. And it takes a lot of people to take a leap of faith and go and make an investment, right? So I would say just getting the company started is probably one of the things that is the most challenging. I didn't think it was challenging back then, but when I look back, I realized, wow, we really made it happen, right? Like we got something from zero to, let's say, maybe one. I mean, we're still an early stage company, but I'm very impressed by how quickly we managed to scale from that first project that we got fully funded in less than a month to 11 projects that we have today. We have roughly 800 community members who are onboarded to our app as well. So I would say just generating that trust and showing people that you have a track record is probably something that is challenging because it just takes time, right? Like once you launch, you just need some time to be able to prove that, and obviously you need to show results. You need to show that what you're doing works, right? But I would say that is one of the things that not only happens to us as a company or happened to us as a company when we just got started right a year ago. I mean, I think it was like roughly first week of May last year, right? So I think that applies to a lot of other companies as well, right? That you really need to prove that you're capable of doing what you said you would do.
100%. So, what is one key piece of advice that you have, Alba, for someone who wants to create a company that's disruptive? Because you really have, or something that has not been done before. What's your one key piece of advice?
Do your research. I have the feeling that sometimes people have an idea and then they just obsess with the solution, but they don't really look into the problem. They don't do their market research. They don't understand it enough. And I feel like when you start a company, you need to be an expert or you need to become an expert. Sometimes you're not an expert and it just takes some learning. So I would say just have the courage to go and explore and learn and continue to iterate because that takes a lot of time. It is always, again, I said it, it's a work in progress. Like you need to continue doing that. And it just takes a lot of work. So I think that is probably my best piece of advice. Just do your research and just keep up to date with everything that's going in the industry. Have your eyes wide open for new opportunities, but still have a focus. Like you have to kind of have a holistic view of what's going on, but then once you land on something, you have to go for it and focus on that specific solution. So it is kind of it's an interesting dance, of like trying to keep up to speed with everything that's going on, understand the market, and then land on something and really put your efforts and zero in on that. So probably that would be my biggest piece of advice, to create something that's disruptive. And then another comment, I would say something that is really important in a founder is just to be very resilient. I feel like, again, like you hit some roadblocks sometimes. It does take a lot of hard work, a lot of late nights. So, again, being resilient and no matter what, continuing to work as hard as you can is very important.
The resilience muscle is critical, right? Or you're never going to survive as an entrepreneur, and it won't be pleasant. Great advice, Alba. Where can we go to find out more about you and about your company?
Sure. I would say the easiest thing to find out about the company is probably just checking out the website climatize.earth. And then from there, you can access the app as well. We're going to launch the web portal very soon to make investments with the desktop, which is exciting too. And then to find out about me, probably just LinkedIn. So I think that's probably the easiest channel.
All right, perfect. Go check her out, especially if you are interested in investing and in supporting our earth and making this a something that we have to last us for a long, long time and do it in a healthy way. Thank you so much for being here, Alba, and for everything that you're doing for the world.
Thank you, Midori. Really, it's been a great conversation. Thank you for having me.
To be the best, you need to play with the best. You might not have your own personal high-level circle of women yet, but you can hang with us on the Female Millionaire Show. I'm Midori Verity, serial entrepreneur for over 25 years, and I interview badass female founders and cut through to what you really need to know. So in 20 minutes, you have what can take years to learn. If you're wanting to play bigger, come play with us. Join the female entrepreneur revolution today. Cheers.